Plea bargaining is one of the most widely used practices in the criminal justice system in the United States. Roughly 90% of cases use plea bargaining. Um, in general terms, plea bargaining is the reduction of a sentence or a charge in turn for the defendant to plead guilty to whatever crime he or she committed. There's different types of plea bargaining, such as charge bargaining, where um, the defendant and the prosecutor would bargain on the charges that will be brought up against the defendant. Usually it'd be a reduction in the charge. Same thing goes for sentencing bargaining, where instead of the charges that are being brought up against the defendant, they are going to reduce the sentence of whatever the charge is. So instead of facing the maximum, they could be brought down to a lower sentence. Plea bargaining doesn't necessarily favor either party. Um, Certain times, if a prosecution doesn't necessarily have enough um, to take someone to trial, where it would be um, an easy case for the prosecutor, it'd be easier for them to use a plea bargain, and then it could benefit the defendant better, where there could be a lot of evidence stacked up against um, him or her, and the plea bargain is the best case scenario to get the lowest sentence or charge for the case. Plea bargains were first used in 1804 in the case of the Commonwealth versus Bates. The rise in plea bargaining came around the 1900s, 1920s, where they saw a big rise in plea bargaining because people were now starting to receive regular counsel, making the trials longer than they were before. Plea bargaining benefits everyone in the criminal justice system: the prosecutor, the defense attorney, the defendant, and the judge. Prosecutors get to have their workload lessened, be able to look at more cases, and they can focus on important cases rather than cases that aren't necessarily have like a high public profile, or cases that maybe not have a higher success rate if it went to trial. Public offenders are greatly benefited by this because they have large workloads where they are given multiple cases, and without this they wouldn't be able to give each case the time it deserves. And then the defense obviously benefits from this the most, where they would be given a lesser charge or a lesser sentence than they would have already received. Prosecutors and the public also benefit from this because it is a certainty that the defendant will be found guilty in the case. In the United States versus Goodwin, 1982, they found that you can add more charges if the plea bargain breaks down. So it's in the defendant's best case scenario to go along with the plea bargain. I think plea bargaining is an essential part of the criminal justice system, where it guarantees defendants will be found guilty and charged with a crime, while if they went to trial, they're not necessarily guaranteed to serve time or receive a punishment for whatever crime they committed. I think that at the end of the day, that's more important than making sure we give someone the maximum sentence for a crime.